Welcome to another episode of the Mixtape Matinee Podcast. I'm your host, Cole.
And I'm Cord. And today we have a very special episode for October. If you guys have noticed, we've been doing a special where we have been watching horror movies in the spirit of Halloween. And today we actually have one of my good friends on, Tiff, or as I like to call her, Tiff in the Bay. Tiff, I knew you were a big horror aficionado. I just was hoping you could introduce yourself a little bit to our audience.
My name's Tiff, and I live in the Bay Area. That would be Oakland, California. So I love Oakland. I guess I would just say that I'm a music and art and film lover. So I like all of those things. I like dabble a little bit in photography, kind of as a hobby. And I just started a new business under a year ago, and I sell vintage toys. So
it's super cool. Tiff actually goes online and auctions off toys. Like, what's that website called? I can't remember.
Whatnot.
Yeah, and it's like a live video. And I don't think you necessarily show your face, but your hands are like showing the toys and like.
Yes, yeah. And some people do show their face, but.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Tiff in the Bay. If anybody's looking for collectible toys, you know where to find me.
And you're a big fan of Sesame Street. I know that. That's
yes.
One of your big collections.
I do. I collect Sesame Street.
It's so funny because that sounds so wholesome, and then you had us watch this like truly, truly disturbing film.
I know, right?
Well, yeah. So do you want to tell everyone what movie you picked?
Yeah, so Court called me and asked me to be on the podcast and said that I choose a movie, and I was supposed to pick my favorite horror film, and my favorite genre is horror, so that was hard, but hands down my all-time favorite film is Midsommar. And not my favorite film, but favorite horror film. And so I picked Midsommar.
Welcome and happy Midsommar. Skål!
What time is it?
9 p.m.
That can't be right. The sky is blue.
This is what 9 p.m. is like here.
How long have you two been together?
Just over 3.5 years.
4 years.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's like another world.
Tomorrow's a big day.
Is it scary?
What is it?
It has special properties.
What am I going through?
We just need to acclimate.
I don't want to acclimate. I want to go.
Absolutely not.
What's happening? I don't know why you invited us.
That's why you look so guilty right now, because you know.
We only do this every 90 years. I was most excited for you to come.
For those who don't know, Midsommar, just to give a quick synopsis, we'll do a spoiler-free rundown first. But basically, in Midsommar, it revolves around Florence Pugh is the lead actress, gives a phenomenal performance, in my opinion, and basically she tags along with her boyfriend, who she's experiencing relationship troubles with. After some traumatic events in her family. I won't go into too many details yet, I guess. Well, we can probably spoil that since it happens at the beginning of the movie. Trigger warning. It's very dark. So in the film, what's Florence Pugh's character's name again?
Danny.
Yes. In the beginning of the film, Danny's sister, in a psychological episode, she has bipolar, kills herself and her parents. And so that really sets the tone of the film, I would say. And Danny's boyfriend in the film is basically planning to break up with her up until that happens. And then he feels obligated to stay with her, even though it's clearly not the best relationship. And then she finds out that he's planning this trip to Sweden with his friends for one of his friends' college dissertations. And they end up inviting her reluctantly. Anyway, they go, and the reason why they are doing it for their dissertations is because there's this unique cult, I guess you would call them, that lives there in northern Sweden, and they're there to kind of observe. And it seems like it's going to be an idyllic summer, even as Danny is dealing with tremendous grief. And then things just start going crazy.
Yeah.
Slowly.
They go downhill from there.
Yeah. So that's the spoiler-free version, as much as I could.
And I like the fact that this movie is basically a breakup story set with like folk horror and like occultist kind of stuff. Because that is the kind of the main thing that's kind of going on, is like this breakup that we all kind of know is going to happen, but it's like these two characters are kind of going through all this other stuff with. Anyway, I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, it's pretty much like a breakup story in just like a weird kind of way, if you think about it. Just for people that don't know, this movie came out in 2019, and it was written and directed by Ari Aster, just a really unique director and writer, and I think this movie just showcases just his level of creativity and also world building. The production design in this movie is amazing. I mean, you kind of already said like the acting's really good, writing is really good.
Florence Pugh.
The whole time I wanted to give her a hug.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to tell her that it was going to be okay.
She's so disconsolate throughout the whole film. Cinematography is by Paweł Pogorzelski. I'm sure I pronounced that horribly. Amazing cinematography. It truly is super, super beautiful. Like, it's striking because this film takes place in the summer in northern Sweden, so it's bright even through the night, except there's a couple hours of dusk. And it's striking, like it's such a verdant, bright, kind of Arcadian landscape that is so different than what you typically expect with horror. That's something that really stands out to me, is how colorful and bright and sunny it is. So did you look up anything cool about the music?
I looked up a little bit. Yeah, like Ari Aster worked really well with the guy that wrote the music. His name is Bobby Krilic, and he is actually he's part of he's a British composer, but he also has a stage name called the Haxing Cloak.
Yeah. And
he makes this kind of industrial, electronic, dark ambient type of music. And I guess while Ari Aster was writing the story, the movie, he was listening to this guy's music, and he thought, I should have him like write the music for this movie because I'm writing to his music. I don't know. I guess it kind of like put him in the headspace for this story. Yeah. Other than that, I didn't look a whole lot up into it. I mean, it's a really unique soundtrack, and there's a lot of unique instruments that are featured on it. I know that he did a lot of research into Swedish folk music, and then just the Swedish kind of instruments. And anyway, yeah, I think that's where you kind of get a lot of the unnerving music that kind of helps with the tension of the film.
Real quick before we go into the spoiler section. Yeah. well, first I'll ask you, Tiff. Like, obviously, this is your favorite horror movie, so you're probably going to rate it pretty highly. What do you think? What do you think you'd give it out of 5? Like 1 to 5?
Oh, 6. Yeah, well, and part of the reason that I love it is it depends on what I guess you like as horror films. I like films that, leave me unsettled. To me, that is like a great horror film. So like I'm not so much into like the Freddy Krueger, or scary monster kind of things. I like films that really are like very psychological and like psychologically disturbing. And that if I feel that during or after a movie, I consider it a really good movie because it's done what it's supposed to do, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Cole, what would you give it out of 5?
I gave it a 4 out of 5. I really liked it. I've heard a lot of things about this movie. I just never watched it. But yeah, I'm glad I did. It was cool. Yeah, a lot of the psychological part of it is cool, and it's just interesting that when you combine human nature with horror, and then it really makes you think about how humans think and act and all of that. I'm kind of curious, Tiff. When did you first see this movie, and what was that first experience like?
Well, this is kind of funny. My youngest daughter, she is also into horror films, and we're the only two in our family that like them. And so we always see them together. And I had just had shoulder surgery in like 2023. And so I was just sitting around doing a lot of nothing, recovering. And so she was like, Mom, I heard of this really cool movie. Like, we have to watch it. It's an A24 film. So I'm like, ooh, okay. So we watched that. And in fact, I thought after I watched it, I was like, was that because I was on pain meds? That was so weird. And so I ended up watching it again, not on pain meds. And yeah, it was disturbing both ways. So that's when I did watch it. So a couple years ago.
Yeah, I think I love that you and your daughter watch horror movies together. That's awesome. No one in my immediate family would watch horror movies with me. But to be fair, I'm not a horror movie guy. I think if I was to rate it out of 5, I honestly think I would be willing to go as high as 4.5 out of 5. I think, which is really high score for me. I don't think have I ever given a 5 on here? I'm trying to think. Maybe for M
or Wings of Desire.
Tiff, you should watch the film M if you haven't. It's this old German film that is a thriller, and it's about a child murderer.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy.
It's a little dark too, but it was really good. I had this review pulled up that I thought I would read real quick. This is from Oscar Goff from Boston Hassle. And he says, visually and sonically, it is perhaps the most beautiful horror movie since Argento's Suspiria, which makes me really want to watch Suspiria. Have you seen?
Yeah, I have. And it's very colorful, kind of psychedelic, and super unnerving.
Yeah.
And it also takes place in a foreign country. Like there's this American woman that goes to, I think it's either Italy or Germany, but to a ballet school. So like there are some similarities between these two. This one's definitely more folk horror though, whereas that one is more like demons and actual like bad spirits and all of that.
And this film comes after Ari Aster made Hereditary, which I guess this movie Midsommar was originally pitched to Ari Aster as a slasher, which I could see, but it changed a lot as he developed it.
Yeah.
But Hereditary is more of like a archetypical haunted house, but
Yeah.
with its own spin. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Tiff, I think you've seen it. Without spoiling anything, was that another one that you
I
thought?
do. I'm a huge, like, I love those. And they also did Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, really? Was he involved in that?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Or was that, oh, you mean with A24?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay,
The
A24.
studio. Yeah, A24 is an amazing.
Yeah, they're always putting out cool, interesting stuff.
Amazing. Also, super cool details, like artistic details throughout the film, like in the background.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, hinting at the what's to
Foreshadowing,
come.
for
Yeah,
sure.
and then at the very beginning, it shows that mural.
Yeah.
That basically, if you pay attention, if you pause it, if you want it to be spoiled for you, it basically tells you the whole plot.
Yeah, right up front. And then, like, when you see Danny's room, there's that painting of the bear and the girl, which is kind of interesting. And then the other part, like when they finally get to the commune, they see a bear and they're like, "Why is there a bear?" And then they're just like, "Don't worry about it." And then later on, and it's funny because the character that asks about the bear is later. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if we want to spoil.
We don't want to
right
get
now,
into the spoiler part yet, probably.
But yeah, that's kind of it works super well. Like the foreshadowing is kind of cool. And he's giving you, Ari Aster's giving you like all these like little nuggets before everything kind of just comes together. I mean, really, the film changes once they witness the first kind of major event of the I don't know if you want to call it a festival, but of the yeah.
Well, should we go into the spoiler section? I could tell we're kind of
we can go into that. The other thing before maybe we do, well, I guess we can do that now. But I was just curious, Tiff, what was something new that you picked out? I mean, you've watched this film before, but what was something new that you picked out this time watching the film for the podcast?
Well, I don't want to veer off topic too much. So, but I have been doing a lot of personal work on unpacking a lot, like deconstructing Christianity, Christian religion. And so I really was interested in how I felt this film really shows like how Danny is in this really vulnerable state of mind with all the grief and trauma that she's experiencing. And then it's like she's sucked in, like the whole movie is her being sucked in, kind of manipulated by this really bizarre cult. And in the end, you know, she kind of, it's hard to talk about this movie without spoiling it, but, you know, she kind of just becomes one of them in the end. And so I thought that was very interesting. Like, that didn't really speak to me the first time, but just looking at the underlying, kind of the underlying journey of just how rituals and traditions like really can be, you can really use that, the community used that to manipulate Danny and the other people as well that were on the trip with Danny, and they did, you know, did not meet a great fate, but you know, they so yeah, just kind of that, kind of like the psychology of kind of groupthink or a cult mindset, I guess, was really sticking out at me watching it 2 years later.
I totally resonate with that. And I think it's interesting that the person who brings them all to the group, that character, his induction in the group also revolved around a trauma with the loss of, he says both of his parents died in a fire, leaving him as an orphan, and the group took him in. And I think that shows just how often like cults and other like high demand groups will prey on vulnerable people because they're more susceptible to be willing to go along with it and buy into it. There's this quote I have that I thought goes along perfectly with what you're talking about, Tiff. It's from an article that I guess we can link in the notes, but it says, its warning to audiences is a bleak one, but instructive nonetheless. While the rest of the world may be cruelly indifferent to your needs, this doesn't mean that those who claim to offer an easy way out are any better. Dani may seem to have won at the end. She has been anointed May Queen, is the lone survivor from her group, and has a satisfied smile on her face. But in the grand scheme of things, she hasn't really triumphed. The rest of her life is going to be spent as part of a stultifying cult. She has to live with having brutally murdered a man who, for all of his faults, did not deserve to die. And she has merely traded the coldness of her previous life for a tyrannical alternative that will doom her to die when she is 72. Perhaps that is the most horrifying idea of all embedded in Midsommar, that there are no positive outcomes, no worthwhile solutions, only more problems and more pain, no matter which way you turn. I thought that was an interesting analysis of it, kind of depressing.
Yeah. One of the things I thought was interesting about the film, and it made me think, and I don't know if you guys thought this, but I felt like there was parallels to the movie The Shining with Jack Nicholson from 1980. The one specific scene I'm thinking of is when they first get to the commune and they're walking around and they're kind of getting introduced to all the different buildings and places there. There's this really unsettling just feeling that you get as you're going with these characters. It's the same feeling that Jack Torrance is getting at the beginning of The Shining when it's kind of being shown the Overlook Hotel. And one of the I just thought it was I keep thinking about it is the one character Christian, who's kind of like the jerk boyfriend. And I already mentioned it, but they're walking by the bear cage and they're like, why is there a bear? And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. It's the same thing that happens when Jack Nicholson in The Shining is walking over and he sees the maze in The Shining. Both characters are kind of looking and questioning what will ultimately be their fate and how they both die. Christian dies in the bear suit, and Jack Torrance eventually freezes to death in the maze. And so I just thought that was an interesting thing that I thought about because I love The Shining, kind of reference to that film. And then the other thing that I thought was cool was all these things that these characters are introduced to, but they're not fully getting the full picture. And then once we and the characters witness the full picture, then there's such a dark it just turns really dark on those things, like the locations, and then like for instance, like the House of Records, and then you find out like, oh, they believe that they need to have an incestuous child to like be a prophet, and and it's like, you know what I mean? Like there's all these like innocent looking things, or like the temple, they're like, what's that building? And they're like, oh, that's sacred. And then at the end, it's like, oh, that's where you just burn everybody in. Kind of crazy. Oh, and then I also thought it was interesting at the end when each of the victims, so I believe there's like 9 people that have to be sacrificed. They're all kind of made up in these different outfits. So like who's the one annoying guy that I can't stand?
Mark?
Oh, Mark. Yeah, Mark is he gets dressed up as a jester.
Is he from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody?
No, he's like a British actor.
Oh, I
but
thought that's who that was.
Yeah, no, but yeah, he gets like put up as a jester because he's kind of like this. He keeps just saying snarky stuff throughout the whole film. One of the analyses that I kind of read is from this writer at The Guardian. His name's Steve Rose. He kind of suggests that one of the main themes about the movie is about toxic masculinity, and that the 3 male companions that go with Dani are references to the Wizard of Oz. So you got the Tin Man, the Cowardly Lion, and the Scarecrow, and they each of the 3 dudes represents characters and kind of.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Well, I know Aster called the film a Wizard of Oz for perverts.
Yeah, so that's kind of funny that's kind of funny that kind of lines up.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I thought was kind of cool was kind of like the use of psychedelics in that they use for the kind of for all of the different what do I call it? Their help me out
rituals?
Here. The rituals, yeah. How they use psychedelics for the rituals I thought was interesting, and especially right when Danny gets there. I mean, we talked about how vulnerable she was, and then she is like pressured into taking psychedelics. I've never taken psychedelics, but I've heard that you don't want to be in a bad place when you take them because then you have like a bad trip. And so right off the start, it's like she's like starting this crazy journey on a bad trip. And then when it comes down to like crowning the May Queen, she gets psychedelics again, and then she has to dance and
till she's literally exhausted.
So she's really literally exhausted. And I was thinking about this as well, that if she was literally dancing for her life, if she would have lost the dance, if she wasn't the May Queen, they would have killed her.
Oh, you think?
Yeah. Because the fact that like they don't sacrifice the May Queen, that's one of the things that they say at the end of the movie. And I was like, oh, that's kind of crazy. Like,
I didn't even
would they have killed her if she wouldn't have been the May Queen? Anyway, that was kind of shocking. I guess those are like my main thoughts. Oh, and I thought it was cool that that one scene, Court, we kind of paused it, but when
with the tree,
the psychedelics, yeah, if you look in the background, there's like a tree that has a face.
Well, guess what I found out about?
Yeah, what's up?
If you pay attention to what face it is, it's actually her sister when her sister's dead.
It's her sister?
Because you remember how the sister at the beginning of the movie, when she's dead, one of her eyes is like super light. It's literally like that. And because it has like the gas mask. And
because when I saw it, it made me think of some guy with a beard or something.
Yeah, if you look closely, it's like the gas mask.
It's her sister, and then like her parents' faces are also in the back.
Oh, and there's like the parents make an appearance in the crowd too. Do you remember that?
Yeah, there was like some cut shots. Yeah,
I think a lot of it is like PTSD, like.
Yeah.
The themes have to do with trauma.
Anyway, those are my thoughts on the film. So I thought those were kind of cool little tidbits. And then obviously it's shot well. It's written well. You can't go wrong.
Yeah. No, great thoughts. Something that I saw, this is from Sean Fennessy from The Ringer. And he says, but beyond the high gore kills and self-hating political circumspection, Midsommar is a movie about ignoring what's right in front of you. And I think that can apply on multiple levels because like they're ignoring their relationship problems. It's like right in front of Danny. Her boyfriend is this toxic jerk. Did any of us like her boyfriend? I don't think so.
No, of course not.
Yeah. Apparently in the director's cut, he's even more unlikable to the point of being like abusive.
Oh, yeah.
At least psychologically.
Yeah.
They wanted to tone it down, I guess, for the release, though.
Well, he's so manipulative. Yeah. It's like, I think, like, what is shown is, like, I think it's good enough. You definitely don't like him. What do you guys think about the very last shot of the film? What do you think that says, the smile? What is that all about?
I kind of felt like that was Danny's, like, emotional, like, liberation. Like, you know, like she kind of was like, she got rid of all the creepy friends. All the friends, remember, didn't like her and talked about her behind, you know, so it's like all the friends are gone. She, you know, gave the guy what every woman wants when a guy cheats on her, you know, this horrible, painful demise. And then, you know, I just think that, I think for her, it was just like she was so far down in like her trauma and grief process. And I think the smile kind of came about when she realizes, kind of like what Court said in the beginning of just like, this is the beginning of her new life. Although it leaves you as the viewer thinking, but is it like what she wants to be a part of this, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you know, it's yeah, it's kind of a mind, you know, bleep. Like, you know, just to see her. I mean, to me, it's like it was like total acceptance. Like, okay, you know, and I think that she's happy that she has now fit into this new community, you know, because the movie starts out, she doesn't have friends. She's just got this kind of loser boyfriend, and then her family's all gone, you know?
Mhm.
So she just feels very isolated and alone. And then these experiences, she's kind of the last one standing, literally.
Mm.
And I think that, you know, she's now all the people in the village are like, oh, you know, we love you. You're like the May Queen, you know? So I thought it was kind of this dark, like acceptance, I guess, of her emotional instability. You know, I think she's still emotionally unstable, but
Yeah.
I think that for her, she's like, oh, it's all finally all okay, you know?
Yeah, your read is that's exactly my thinking when I saw it. That's exactly what I was thinking. But then after the movie, then I was like, dang, what's she gonna do now? Is she just stuck there? And then I guess she just is accepted it. I mean, I guess we don't know that because the movie just ends, but yeah, that was my thought afterwards. Is like, oh, she's okay with it, I guess. So
Well, and I found an interview where Aster talks about oh, I hear your dog. No worries. Aster talks about his intentions for the film and for that part. And so he says, for me, the film is incidentally a folk horror film. If anything, this is my attempt at making a big operatic breakup movie that feels the way a breakup feels. That sort of makes literal those feelings where a breakup can feel apocalyptic, like the world is ending. And so there's a pleasure in taking a movie to that extreme. And then he goes on to say how sometimes when you're wanting to start over, like you just kind of want to like purge everything out of your life and burn it out of your life. It's interesting. The actress Florence Pugh had a different take, and this is more how I read it, but this is how she described her approach to that scene and what she thought was going on in Danny's mind. So this is the quote. So I have a different version to Ari, the director. The idea is that she's now gone through a psychotic break. From that moment, she chooses, I believe, accidentally Christian, her boyfriend, to get burnt. She keeps on waking up and going back into this like psychotic break. And when that moment at the end happens, where everything is going up in flames, I tried to embody what I was like when I was 5 on bonfire night, and just how exciting it was to see flames. And I wanted to revert back to a very, very small and simple life of how simple things made and make children feel. Because in that moment, I presumed she wasn't there anymore. And that's kind of how I read it, was she literally, like, it broke her psychologically.
Okay.
And so then she just smiles, like, almost like
she's,
yeah,
psychotic
that's
break.
how I read it, but you guys read it more how
I read
the
it more.
director took it.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting that we both had the both takes on it. But yeah, that's how I read it. It was kind of like, yeah, she's just like, and you know, the quote that you said about Ari Aster about making it a big breakup kind of a thing. I guess that's maybe the main thing to think about, is like she's just so happy that all of this is purged away. She doesn't have to worry about it. They're finally broken up. The breakup has happened.
And then there was another thing that I wanted to bring up as well that I found that I thought you guys would think was interesting. Aster wanted to treat Danny's journey like a dark fairy tale, beginning with orphaning Danny and ending with her becoming a queen. And
kind of that big kind of change that she goes through.
Like Cinderella and Snow White.
Oh, yeah.
And then Aster said this about that, which I thought was interesting. Aster himself noted, we begin as Danny loses a family, and we end as Danny gains one. the Harga, that's the cult, provide exactly what she's lacking and exactly what she needs in true fairy tale fashion.
I agree with that too. That's kind of what I was saying, is just like she's, she feels surrounded by community, and she's just like purged her old life, and so it's kind of this. And there's a lot of symbolism in the film as well, like the flowers, like all the flowers, it's like this rebirth, the thing of like the May, the festival or whatever. Is it like the maypole or whatever that they were doing? But that's always like a springtime rebirth of the earth and the crops and this and that, and so it's kind of like I read into it a lot of like this rebirth of herself.
Well, before we transition to the other film, and we also can talk about the two films in relation to each other, because I think this pairing is really interesting. One last thing that I wanted to bring up about Midsommar is that Astor also said that he wanted the Harga to be fascist, which I didn't really pick up on that, I'll be honest. But this part I did pick up on more. And he wanted them to be white supremacist. He talks about that. And he does it subtly in some ways, because do you remember that one scene where they're driving in and the camera flips upside down on the road? Apparently right then there's a banner that says like this racist like slogan as they're pulling into the camp. And then when Josh, who's the anthropology student, that's his name, right? Josh? Yeah. He's black, and he's preparing for the trip. He's reading a book, and blink and you'll miss it. It is, I don't have the title right in front of me. It's something like Nazis and the Secret Language of the Old Norse or something.
Oh,
and
interesting.
In the original screenplay, Danny says, "Why are you reading that?" And he chuckles and he says, "Ask Pele."
Oh, the
who
guy
is the friend that invites him.
So it's almost like he understands. He knows what he's going into.
Yeah. And then there's also the element where they kill the old people, where the old people jump off the cliff, and that's like the culling of the weak in fascism. And apparently that's based on a real thing that happened in Sweden into the 20th century.
Oh.
And they even modeled the mallet, that big awful mallet, after one that is in the Stockholm Museum.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think I did read something about that hammer. Yeah.
And to me, that was the most upsetting scene.
By the way, too, like I did want to say before we move on to the other one, is just that scene anyway of, you know, the people jumping off the cliff. Like, that was insane. Like, I don't know if that bothered you guys. That was so disturbing to me. And like all the people just sitting there watching, and they all just act like it's normal, you know?
Yeah, I think the thing to me that was the most disturbing is that the guy, when he falls, he doesn't completely die, and so he's just suffering. That.
And then they kill him with the.
And then
mallet.
they hit him like way too much.
Yeah, they get on a
with
line
the hammer.
and kill him.
It's like,
no, that was the most disturbing part of the film for me, and it comes pretty early on, and the camera does not shy away from what you're looking at either. Like, it zooms into the violence, and like, it was hard to stomach a little bit. So
yeah, it was interesting. And to go along with I can kind of see the fascism a little bit, like you talked about. I also think that you can't ignore all that the Harga is always like, they're always in white. They're always, they're white people dressed in all white.
That's true. And they even have some like white supremacist runes that they put in the film. And I'm trying to think what else they do. I'm trying to remember. Well, he basically says that once that they kill Josh, this is Ari Aster. He says they kill him because they have no further use for him, and because they're not going to use him to create new life. Because eventually you find out some of them have been brought there to literally have children with the Harga. And, and they practice eugenics too. Like, that's another big thing.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, that's the other disturbing thing about the film is that Pele knowingly gets all of these friends to come with him just to sacrifice them.
Yeah, it's so
like it's like, ooh, that guy's evil. I mean, crazy. Yeah.
Well, any final thoughts on it before we move on to to the Wicker Man?
Nope. I think we can go into the next one. So it was my turn to pick the pairing of this film. And what I did was I have a huge watch list on Letterboxd, and I basically just Googled. I kind of took all of my Letterboxd watch list, and I just kind of uploaded it to Google and was like, what movies would pair well with Midsommar? And this movie came out. I mean, I've heard a lot about it. It's called The Wicker Man. It's from 1973, directed by Robin Hardy. And it also is a folk horror film, which I think is one of the things that also pairs really well with Midsommar.
I am here to investigate the disappearance of a young girl. Where is Rowan Morrison?
If Rowan Morrison existed, we would know.
I suspect murder.
Sergeant, I've already told...
In the name of God, woman, what kind of mother are you? That can stand by and see your own child slaughtered.
You are the fool, Mr. Harry.
You're liars. You are despicable little liars.
I don't know if you guys have had this experience, but I've heard the name The Wicker Man, and like with like hushed tones, like it's such a scary movie. And when me and Court watched it, it wasn't necessarily that. I mean, at least not at the beginning of the film. It was kind of surprising. Tiff, have you seen this movie before? Is this one that you'd seen?
I had not seen it before. I had not. No.
Had you heard about it?
No.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, I'm glad. Yeah. So I'd kind of heard about it a little bit, and I actually didn't realize that Christopher Lee was in this movie, which I thought was funny. His hairdo is crazy in this movie. It just does it, and then him in a kill is just kind of funny.
And a dress later on.
Yeah, and a dress later on. I think it's filmed and it takes place in Scotland, which is very near and dear to my heart because me and my wife took a trip recently to Scotland and we loved it, and so it was kind of fun, like seeing some of the places that we'd actually been to Scotland. So that was kind of cool. This movie is based off of a 1967 novel called Ritual, and I really want to read that book now after watching this to see the similarities. I didn't really read up much on the book, but...
Well, and actually the director wrote a book after the film.
Oh, yeah, you were telling me about that.
The Wicker Man.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. That's crazy. So... yeah, it was filmed in Scotland, and the basic premise, I'll just do a quick synopsis, is there's this officer that gets called to this island, this small community, because there is a missing child, and he tries to find this missing child, and through the course of the film, there's some weird things that start happening. There's something off about this community in Scotland. But when me and Court were watching it, we were actually joking that this movie at the beginning, it kind of feels like a musical comedy because there's some cheesy kind of like folk music in the movie that plays anytime that the officer is traveling.
Oh, yeah. It sounds kind of like Gordon Lightfoot.
Yeah, there's just like these weird characters that you find. There's just weird things that happen. And anyway, yeah, it's just it's almost like a little cringy. But it is also kind of funny because you're kind of going through this whole story with the officer and experiencing kind of these weird traditions that they have. But then you also find out that the officer is also like super religious, super Christian, and there's some differing opinions between him and the locals. But yeah, that's kind of the basic thing. We won't go into the spoils section yet, but that's kind of the basic outline of the film. I gave the film 3.5. I thought it was pretty good, but I guess I think the thing that ruined it for me is like all the things that I'd heard about it, like it being talked up so much. And it doesn't really get like crazy until like the very end, like the very climax of the film. And maybe that had something to do with it. And it was a great film, but it was not what I was expecting, I guess, is what I would say.
To me, this isn't a horror movie.
Yeah.
To me, this is musical meets folk. I mean, folk musical meets murder mystery.
Yeah.
To be honest, like, I guess that it is a horror movie, like, but it doesn't really seem like one to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I was going in expecting a horror movie, I had to quickly change my expectations as the movie progressed, and I came to like enjoy it.
Yeah, that's what I would say too.
Yeah, I came to enjoy it. It is a little zany. It is a little cheesy. They probably put one or two many folk songs in it. The folk songs are largely drawn from traditional folk songs from the region, and then they modified them for the film, which I thought was cool. And it made me appreciate the music a little more. They actually take out what many people believe to be the best song, which is called Gently Johnny. And this is, to me, I watched the scene on YouTube, very disturbing to me. But maybe I don't know, it's slightly spoilery, so maybe I'll wait.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say objectively I think that Midsommar is the better film. But which film was the more fun would probably be this one.
Yeah, because it's not as much messed up stuff in it.
Well, yeah. This one feels more light. Midsommar feel well, because the tone, even as it like builds to this end, the tone isn't really that tense. Yeah. Midsommar, you're kind of like, oh shit.
Yeah, the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah. But that being said, like Midsommar is, I think, the superior film.
Yeah, Tiff, what's your, I guess, initial reaction to the film?
Well, okay, I'm not gonna lie. When I found out the film was like 1973, I was like, oh no. Because like I just really, I mean, I think there's like two films that came out of the 70s that were good, and that's Star Wars and Jaws. So I was just like, oh no. But I enjoyed it solely with the purpose of knowing that we were kind of trying to connect the two movies, and I thought they connected perfectly. So from a, again, going into a psychological thing, no spoilers, we can get into this later, but just like, it was, it was kind of that same disturbing thing with the religious overtone and the, this vulnerable, like this guy trying to find this little girl that's missing and everyone's lying to him. And it was just, I thought that part, it wasn't tension like Midsommar, but there was definitely like the viewer was like, what is going on here? And, yeah. So it was definitely, I don't know, at the end, I was like, wow, that wasn't bad. Like that, I don't know that I would, pay to take all my friends and family to see it in theaters, but it was definitely, I enjoyed it. I did. I thought it was an interesting film, but I agree with everything you guys had said. Like at first, the music, oh my gosh, like with the opening and that barley and corn song, I was like, I cannot, this is seriously exactly what I was thinking it was going to be, and it's terrible, and we're 2 minutes in. And then I died because you guys are way younger than me, but like Edward Woodward too, like seeing him, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, no, thank you. But yeah, so, but overall, and in comparison to Midsommar, like kind of as a side by side, very interesting. Had I not seen Midsommar, I probably wouldn't have bonded with the movie that much.
Yeah, and it's interesting that music plays such an important role in a tone of a movie. Perfect example is The Wicker Man. Like, if we would have had some crazy tensious music throughout the film, you would have gotten a totally different feeling than the kind of happy-go-lucky folk music that you hear.
Yeah, for sure. The most disturbing song to me, not disturbing like in a horror way, but like in a gross way, was the one where they sing about the innkeeper's daughter, where they're
In the
like,
bar.
yeah,
Yeah, that was weird.
that was so like they're basically all calling her a harlot, and it's just like, I don't know, it was just like gross to me. It was all these men, old men singing about the.
Well, and we talked about that, like, where are all the women? Like, because at the beginning of the movie, it's like, is this like an island full of dudes?
Yeah.
And then eventually there's some women, but it's mostly guys that is shown in the film, which I thought was funny. Okay, do you want to go into the spoiler section now?
Yeah.
Now that we've kind of given our main thoughts on the film.
Yeah. Real quick, should we rate it? Did we rate it?
I rated it.
Oh, I didn't.
I said 3.5.
Yeah, I think I would go 3.5.
Yeah.
I'm more of an extremist. I'm going to go 2.5.
That's fair.
That's fair. That's totally fair. And I don't know if I would watch this movie again, but it was definitely cool watching it in comparison with Midsommar, for sure. One of the things that my initial thoughts, now that we can talk about kind of spoilers on the film, was I was just so deceived by the little girl, at the end.
Oh,
like the girl that he's trying to find,
because you think he's rescuing her,
and then it's like, wow, this was like a huge elaborate plan to get someone from the government that was a virgin to come so they could sacrifice him. And I'm like, dang, that's crazy.
Yeah, so we find out that basically the whole village has been playing a game on the main character, and that this girl is not missing. She's in good health, and he dons a costume on their big May festival day. He dons the costume of a fool, which is one of the characters in the festival, and he goes along with this procession to a cave where we find the girl, and she's tied up, and he goes up and he like punches her supposed abductor, and she's like, save me, and he like acts like he thinks he's saving her, and then all of a sudden, like, they're like running through the cave. They come out of the cave, which, by the way, the cave featured some weird rock music that didn't fit at all.
That was weird.
That was random. But they come out of the cave, they're like on this highland plateau, and all of a sudden, like, all the village's men with spears and shit come down, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, and then she's like, did I do good?
Yeah.
Did I do it right? Yeah, which is just crazy. And then while you were saying that, it's funny, kind of a comparison is that he's wearing a jester's outfit, whereas in Midsommar, the character Mark, like I said, he was like the really annoying guy.
Well,
he's wearing a jester's hat at the end when he's sacrificed. So there's a little.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, that's some comparison there.
Did you pick up also on the fact in Midsommar when they first arrive at the commune, the children are playing what game?
I don't know. What are they playing?
Skin the fool.
Oh, are they?
And then who gets skinned? The fool. So kind of messed up. That was weird. The scene where you see Mark's face on that other person's face.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
That was crazy. At first I was like,
oh,
I thought it was Mark, and he was just like super drugged.
Yeah.
But you were like, no, they skinned him.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit.
Which is, that's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. The other thing about the Wicker Man, I mean, okay, I know that, we talked about this before. I know that the officer, like, he's super religious, kind of zealous to, like, a fault.
Unlikable.
And you said he's unlikable. I kind of, like I said, like, at the end, I felt so bad for him. I was like,
I feel bad for him.
He's a Christian and everything, but he was trying to save a little girl, and then all of a sudden, like, he's like, oh, yep, he just gets burned alive at the Wicker Man, in the Wicker Man, and I was like, oh, dang.
Yeah,
that's
I
crazy.
definitely was rooting for him to solve the mystery. And as the only person in the film who has any concern for a missing child, definitely sympathized with him in that way. I felt bad for him. He died with his convictions intact. Well, maybe. Some people interpret his, like, saying, oh God, Jesus Christ, as he's burning. Some people interpret that scene as him having, like,
a faith crisis?
A faith crisis.
Oh.
I didn't interpret it that way.
Me either. I didn't see that at all.
Tiff, what did you think?
Yeah, no, I felt like his crying out was kind of almost like I thought there was a lot of symbolism to, like, the crucifixion.
Oh, I did too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because remember, like, they stripped his clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, he's naked. And remember, they, like, washed his hands. And then they put, and then the next scene, he's dressed and he's, like, in a white kind of robe.
Yeah.
Thing, you know, kind of like Jesus Christ, you know, ish. And yeah, so I honestly thought they were gonna, like, nail him somewhere, you know.
I thought for some reason that because they were right by the ocean, I kept thinking they're gonna just, like, throw him off the edge and, like, make him fall into the. And then all of a sudden you see the Wicker Man and you're like, oh dang,
yeah,
they're doing that. And then the other disturbing thing is while he is burning alive, they're, like, singing this happy little tune.
Yeah,
like this
the Who's in Whoville around the Christmas tree.
And yeah, that was also disturbing.
Do you know what I mean? That one scene where all the Who's in Whoville are like, Fa who Doris la who la. They might as well have been doing that around this burning thing full of animals.
Yeah.
And him. Yeah, that's what I thought of.
Yeah.
No, definitely I saw the connection with the crucifixion, and it makes sense when you learn where the director was drawing inspiration from. So there was this book written by an anthropologist called The Golden Bough. That's Bough. That was, like, this big deal. Actually, it was more influential in the literature world than it was in anthropology. Most of its ideas have been rejected now by anthropologists, but it still continues to have an influence on the arts and stuff. Well, in this book, The Golden Bough, the author argues that pagans would sacrifice a king who represented God, and that they would do this as a scapegoat for the village's wrongdoings. And that he argued that this was proliferated throughout the world. And in the book, he even draws comparisons to Christianity and says that it explains in part the mythos of Christianity. And so knowing that the director was taking inspiration from that book, that totally resonates and makes sense. And in a interview that I read, the director talks about how Christianity, Judaism, and he says to a lesser extent Islam, he thinks are actually at their core pagan, and that he was actually drawing a comparison between the main actors' Christianity and the paganism of the people. But it was super interesting to me, that aspect of it. Also, apparently in the extended version, we see a flashback of the lead character with his police officer buddies, and they're all just, like, excoriating, making fun of him because he's such a, like, prudish Christian. And the director, this is funny to me, the cameraman for the movie, it was an Orthodox Jewish man, and he at first said, whoa, I can't film this because this is blasphemy for Christians. And he had to convince the cameraman, and he had to say, like, no, because the cameraman thought they were making a Christian film. And the director had to say, like, no, this isn't actually a Christian film. Like, I am not a Christian myself. The other main collaborator on the project was a secular Jewish man. Like, so that was interesting. Eventually he got the cameraman to go along with it. And so I thought all of that was interesting. Also, like, can we talk about the fact that when he meets Lord Summerisle, who's the leader of the island,
Christopher Lee's character.
Christopher Lee, we find out, and he just he basically tells it super bluntly. His grandfather purchased the island back in the day. His grandfather had developed these like GMO fruits that could survive
Apples.
survive in that climate.
Which is interesting because when we were watching it, I was like, why is there palm trees? There's not palm trees in Scotland. And then later it's explained. But
Right. And so his grandfather, but then he just says, my grandfather was an atheist. He encouraged the villagers to leave their Christianity. Did you pick up on this? They were Christian before. He encouraged the villagers to leave their Christianity and adopt this belief in the old gods so that they would be more compliant workers. And it's interesting because then he goes on to say, my father, so his grandfather's son, my father fell in love with the customs and fell in love with like this way of life.
Yeah.
But he never, and he says, and I did too, but he never says that he believes it.
Yeah. It's just
and so
tradition almost.
To me, this film is very much critiquing zealotry, whether it's
Christian or pagan,
or this like new paganism or whatever, neo-paganism. And I totally could see that. Yeah.
I saw that too because it was highlighting very much the creepiness of the film was the cult mentality, but it's like you were very aware that these weren't bad people.
Yeah.
You know, maybe at the end, but it's like you recognize that like, oh, okay, they have this different, belief. But like, I do think it was very interesting because the main character, what was his name? Detective Howie or something.
Yeah.
But he stated, when he made his big, bold statement, he's like, I am a Christian. And I just thought that was interesting because, especially in the time the film was made, people didn't identify as Christians. Like, mostly like the normal thing to say would be like, I'm Catholic or I'm Lutheran or something, you know what I mean? And it's like, I just kind of thought it was interesting that he said he didn't say he is a Christian. He said, I'm Christian. And so I just thought it was funny, or, not funny, but interesting that I think it definitely was a comparison of the two extremes, like Christianity versus paganism.
Totally super interesting. I wanted to, in the spirit of exactly what you're saying, I wanted to bring up this dialogue that happens in the film. Howie, he says to Lord Summerisle, have these children never heard of Jesus? And then Lord Summerisle says, himself the son of a virgin, impregnated, I believe, by a ghost. And then he explains that the religious instruction on the island in the way of the old gods, and how he's like, well, what about the true God? And Lord Summerisle just like replies like super caustically. He says, he's dead. He can't complain. He had his chance, and in modern parlance, blew it. I was like, damn, like, that's interesting.
Yeah, I also wonder if you caught in there the Summer Isle people. I don't know, was their cult name ever mentioned? I think it was just like Summer Isle. But the Summer Isle people, they worshipped the sun god.
Yeah.
Like, and then Christians worship the Son of God.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that. Well, and it's interesting, the last shot as he's burning in the Wicker Man, it pans to the sun, which is really interesting. I was reading about the filming of that scene, and he was like, they had to get it just right.
Yeah, with sunsets, you definitely have to.
It's really hard, and like they were like, it just serendipitously worked out with the timing, and they filmed this in autumn, even though it's supposed to have taken place in the spring. And so like everybody was freezing on set. Dude, one of the funny things that I read was the actor, what's his name, that plays Howie?
Tiff, I don't remember his name. Edward Woodward.
Yeah. When he was in the Wicker Man, he got peed on by a goat, but he said it was a relief because it was so cold and the pee was warm.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
There's legends that some of the animals actually died, but people later came out and said no, the animals, they had like an animals rights group there, and they made sure that when they lit the Wicker Man on fire, they took all the animals out.
Another interesting thing about the movie I thought was so they were so focused on him being like and we already talked about this, like the savior, like being a virgin, being of a king,
representative
of a king. But there's that scene earlier in the film where he's tempted to have relations with the innkeeper's daughter, and he doesn't do it. So my question was, would they have sacrificed him if he would have had sex with her?
And was she trying to save him?
That's another good point. Yeah.
Or was it a test?
Was it a test? But I'm like, yeah. And anyway, that was kind of an interesting thing.
That scene was super cringe for me, to be honest.
That was cringe.
That was awful.
She's naked.
And she's like hitting the wall to the beat of the drum of the song. It was kind of it was funny.
And she's totally naked. And even though it's shot from the back, you can see the front.
And you were telling me that they had a stunt double for the butt shot?
Yeah, which I found out she was pregnant.
Oh, she was pregnant. Okay.
Yeah. Well, she said also she didn't want her buttocks to be on film. And she apparently was not happy about the stunt double they picked, which is interesting to me. Also,
that whole scene, in my opinion, that whole scene could have just not even happened.
I agree.
Like, think about it. It really didn't add anything.
Well, then let me tell you about the scene that was also cut from the theatrical release and from the version we watched, in which they sing apparently everyone's favorite song, Gently Johnny, which is as sexual as it sounds. In that scene, Lord Summerisle brings a young, teenager on the verge of adulthood / young adult man to have his virginity taken by the innkeeper's daughter. And then the village is all gathered around under the room where they're having sex, and they're all singing this song, Gently Johnny. And then Lord Summerisle's totally creeping out on the veranda, looking through the window, basically. and it's super bizarre. And people say that some people argue it was a necessary scene because it establishes the messed up nature of Lord Summerisle. And apparently that was your introduction to Lord Summerisle before how he meets him.
Oh.
But this is what I thought was interesting. So Lord Summerisle, I think, thinks that he's doing what's best for the villagers with this whole cult thing. But also I think he is very paternalistic of the villagers. He's enlightened. At one point, Howie's like, "You are a pagan," and he's like, "Well, I hope you know I'm an enlightened one." It's like, oh, okay. But anyway, this is interesting. During that scene where they're singing that creepy song and this teenager is having sex with the innkeeper's daughter, Lord Summerisle's in the garden with a snail in his hand. And he quotes a Walt Whitman poem, and he says, "I think I could turn and live with animals. They are so placid and self-contained. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. They do not make me sick discussing their duty to God. Not one of them kneels to another or to his own kind that lived thousands of years ago. Not one of them is respectable or unhappy all over the earth." I thought that was interesting. Kind of shows his mindset.
Yeah. Probably good, though, that they did cut that scene, because that sounds kind of cringy, for sure, with the young man and everything.
It's crazy how many people online, that's their favorite scene.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought that the movie pairing was super fun. I think both films really showcase kind of the cult mentality and then also dealing with religious themes. What do you guys think as far as the similarities?
Oh, I think it was definitely themes of savage pagans versus perfection and Christianity.
Yeah.
So I thought that's kind of what I took from it. I think there's a lot of similarities of culture shock. like both of them, like
Mm.
Detective Howie was like, what are these people doing? You know, and in Midsummer, Danny was the same way. She's like, what? You know, they keep discovering all these weird things that these cult members do, you know?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. Court, did you have any other final thoughts?
Yeah, I think that one other similarity I could draw between them is how vulnerable people were manipulated by religion for the ends of the people in power. In Midsummer, it's all the characters that come to the island, to the northern Sweden, but especially Danny. And in
Wicker
Man, the working class is made to be like compliant and like willing subjects of this Lord Summerisle because of this introduction of this cult.
And tradition too, I guess, because it's what you do.
Yeah.
Tradition is another big thing too of both movies.
Yeah. I thought also it was interesting how in The Wicker Man, it leaves it up to you to, like, it doesn't tell you who to root for. It doesn't tell you these people are wrong or this guy is like this uptight Christian, like that he's like, it just presents it and then lets you judge. I think some people could watch that film and think that it's like anti-pagan propaganda for Christianity. I think other people could watch that film and go, oh, what an idyllic life for the pagans. Or I think somebody else could watch that film and come to their own conclusion. Apparently, for a while, it trended among some evangelical groups in the U.S. for its portrayal of martyrdom, which I think they kind of lost the plot with that. But I ultimately enjoyed this film. I guess I thought it was also Lee said it was his best work that he's been in. He considered it his best work. So did Woodward. And he definitely had some interesting lines in it that I thought were really interesting. Also, when I thought the line that he says to Howie when Howie's like objecting to everything, when he's like, well, then shouldn't you be, I'm horribly butchering this paraphrasing, but basically he's like, shouldn't you be grateful that you're going to live the dream of Christians to be a martyr? Oh man.
Yeah, that was crazy too.
Yeah. And then also I thought the most interesting argument that Howie made when he's like trying to get him not to kill him, he appeals to their reason and stuff, and he's like, don't you see that the crops are going to fail, and then who's going to be the next sacrifice? It's going to be Lord Summerisle. And you kind of see like Christopher Lee be like, oh shit. But then Christopher Lee, like Lord Summerisle, doubles down. He's like, I know it will work. Anyway.
Yeah, that was
film.
That was an interesting part of the the ending of the film.
Yeah.
I do have to say though, come on, Lord Sauron, that was like his best role. That he was made to play that part. He did such a good job in the Lord of the Rings. But
I also wonder, I mean, the timing of the movie is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how much of it was a critique of hippie culture.
Oh yeah, good point. In the 70s, I mean, at that point, the Summer of Love was past that time, but yeah, there were still hippies going around. I don't know what it was like in the UK during that time, but that's an interesting thought.
Because the island is basically hippies.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
With free love and all
Mm-hmm.
that. Yeah. Oh yeah, cool.
What?
Cool. The teacher's teaching the class, and she's like, what does the maypole represent? And I was like, a penis. And Cole was like, no. And then literally the child raises her hand, and she's like, it is a phallic symbol. And Cole was like, oh my gosh, Court got it.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. You called it. I was like, I can't believe they just said it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And then she literally says later, yeah, it's a penis. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, super fun. If you guys haven't seen both these films, go out and watch them. Especially for Halloween, if you want a good double feature night. I mean, this was pretty fun. Yeah, thanks for being on, Tiff. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was really fun. I enjoyed it.
Super fun, Tiff. Do you want to potentially be on in the future for music? I think that would be super fun.
It would be fun. I'd love to. I'd love to.
Okay, we will see you guys next time. Thanks, Tiff.
Happy Halloween.
Thank you. Yes, happy Halloween. Thank you both.